It's been 10 years. It's been 10 years since The Dark Knight. Wow. Man, time really does go by fast, doesn't it? Man, I remember everybody being so hyped for this movie when it was first coming out. And now it's 10 years old. Man, that's just crazy. Hey, what's up, you guys? Film Fan 0599 here again, and today we're going to review The Dark Knight. So, The Dark Knight stars Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, Aaron Eckhart, Gary Oldman, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Morgan Freeman, and Michael Caine. And what this film is basically about, it's about, Bruce Wayne. He's been Batman for a while now, since Batman Begins. He's been fully adapted to being the Batman and trying to be Gotham's savior. And now a new foe named the Joker is now coming in and basically wreaking havoc on Gotham City and making everybody's life a living hell, including his. So, what did I think of The Dark Knight? Well, I'm not going to tell you my thoughts just yet, because guess what? I had to go all out with this review. There was no way I couldn't keep this review simple. No. This is the 10th anniversary review of The Dark Knight. We need to go out all big with this. So not only do I have one guest, but I have two guests for this review. And those two guests are my good buddies, 22TigerDude and Jackson Fulcher. I couldn't have been more happy to get these guys for this review. This is one of our favorite movies of all time, so we had to talk about it, all three of us. So we're going to get started with my guest review, and the first one that's going to go up first is Mr. Jackson Fulcher. So, sir, take it away.
Hello everybody on the Film Fan 0599 YouTube channel. I am Jackson Fulcher, and I'd like to thank my friend Film Fan for having me on here today to talk about my second favorite film of all time, The Dark Knight. I first saw this film in 2009. I didn't see it in the theater. I was a little too young. I was home from school one day though, and I didn't have anything to do, so I played The Dark Knight on the TV. It was a DVD on my DVD shelf, and I didn't know we actually had the DVD, and I was like, alright, the clown, and there's a guy dressed up as a bat. Alright, I know what a Batman is. I'll put it in, and Jesus Christ, it changed my life. One of the most riveting films ever made. It had me hooked to the screen from beginning to end. I mean, with the opening bank robbery scene, how could you not be glued to the screen after seeing that? It's amazing. It's one of the best openings to a film I've ever seen. It introduces the character of the Joker so well. And yes, I'm going to talk about the Joker a lot because, think about it, he's like a huge part of this film. Like, if this character wasn't done right, then this movie could have ended up failing in a lot of ways. For instance, the character of Bruce Wayne, played by Christian Bale, who of course I love, he had to learn how to become Batman in that first movie, overcome the obstacles that were in his way. Now he is Batman and he's taking down multiple mob people, but then all of a sudden the Joker comes along and really does challenge the morals of Batman. There's of course the great interrogation scene where they discuss certain things, and you can really tell the Joker understands what gets under Batman's skin. He knows Batman's weakness. He's a stickler for the law, and he can't kill anyone, so the Joker really tries to exploit that. And throughout the course of this film, you can really see a lot of the conflict going on with the character. And as much as I love the Joker, and believe me, I'll talk about Heath Ledger in a second, but Christian Bale really does get kind of overlooked in this movie, even though it's supposedly his because it's The Dark Knight, but he really does get overlooked a lot of the times, and I think his performance is equally as great as everyone else's. Of course, Heath Ledger stands out the most as the Joker because he plays the best comic book character brought to the big screen ever. This is the best interpretation of the Joker character and any comic book character I've ever seen. In fact, a lot of people are willing to agree with that too. And maybe he won the Oscar because he passed away, but I don't really know, because he is really excellent and his performance goes way beyond just, oh, he's just a really good villain. Like, there's just so much more to that performance. Like, he gave his life for that performance. He went completely meta and hid out for like several weeks just to try to get into that mindset. Like, it's really insane once you read up on what Heath Ledger did to get into that kind of performance, and it's amazing. It's really inspiring if you want to be an actor to hear how Heath Ledger did it. To be so committed to that role and to really just own it. And of course the interrogation scene, the bank robbery scene in the beginning. One of my favorite scenes though, of course, is when he first walks in and he smashes the guy's head through the pencil, showing like, hey, I may be dressed up as a clown right now, you might want to laugh at me, but I mean total business. I'm gonna talk to you seriously for a second, mobsters, and I'm gonna show you that you can't just push me out because I'm gonna smash this dude's eye into this pencil. It's a great way to introduce what the Joker is all about, because he doesn't care about the mobsters, and later on we also find out he doesn't really care about any money as we see him burn that pile of it. He really just cares about getting to Batman and challenging him morally. And when the Joker first shows up, it's completely earned, because in that first Batman Begins movie, as excellent as it is definitely a build-up movie. Like, we're gonna get you invested into this world first. We've crafted this amazing origin story. Alright, you in? You loved it? Alright, here's the Joker. He's gonna mess everything up, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful crafting of making a comic book movie, because Tim Burton, when he made his Batman movie, he opened up big with the Joker. And yeah, the Joker is the most famous character ever, so of course any studio is gonna be like, open up with the Joker, we gotta get the Joker in as soon as possible. But Christopher Nolan was like, we're not gonna do that. We don't want to put the Joker in right away. We're gonna have Ra's al Ghul and Scarecrow in it. And then once people are fully invested and they want to see more, now we'll give them the Joker. And it's really great because in the sequel you want characters to evolve and you want characters to go through new challenges, and the Joker offers those new challenges excellently. Aaron Eckhart, who is the new addition of Harvey Dent in this film, he plays the DA who is trying to lock up the mobsters, pretty much doing the same thing Batman is kind of doing, but he's going with it in the more legally way. And you see that character at first and you're like, yeah, he's a really great guy, and he says that awesome line that of course rings in our heads forever: you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. It's really great, and it's also very ironic because he, of course, later gets his face burned and he turns into Two-Face. And you have that great hospital scene with Jim Gordon coming in and talking to him, and then later Heath Ledger coming in and manipulating his mind like, you're gonna do the same thing you've always done, except this time you don't have to work in the law. You can do what Batman does, except Harvey Dent is killing people, and Batman would never do that. And of course this becomes Joker's ace in the hole, like, Batman can capture me, whatever, but as long as Two-Face goes around his plot of revenge, then we're all good. And of course later when you see the scene where he's with Jim Gordon and Batman of course has to come and intervene, kills Harvey Dent, and then of course they talk about how if people find out about this, a lot of those mobsters could go free because of him, like, what are we gonna do about this? And then Batman's like, you know what, Harvey Dent didn't kill any of them, I killed these people. I'll be the hero that Gotham deserves, but not the one it needs right now. And as a kid, when I watched that for the first time, I had never seen a movie like that where the hero, the superhero, was, like, without being forced to, just offering like, hey, just say I did it. Just say it was me, I will take the fall. And as a kid, I had never seen anything like that before. Like, why would the superhero offer to do that? And of course, it just speaks volumes as far as how wonderfully written this whole thing is. It's a great second installment as far as leading the characters in directions that isn't typical in most sequels. Like, a lot of sequels, they can kind of do the same thing. Characters kind of end in a happy place like the first movie. In this one, it's continuing to build the story and also lead off into a bigger story as a whole by having them land in places that you wouldn't really expect them to. It's like The Empire Strikes Back in that way. Luke is without a hand, Han Solo's frozen in carbonate, except this time it ends with Batman kind of giving up his role as Batman because people think that he's a murderer now because he doesn't want those mobsters that Harvey Dent locked up to become free. Overall, this movie is fantastically well written, with well-realized characters to the max. They're some of the best characters ever put to screen, and it has some of the best acting ever. Sure, Heath Ledger, it's amazing, wonderful God, but everyone else is also equally as good, especially seeing where these characters all go. Even Maggie Gyllenhaal, who replaces Katie Holmes, she's still really good as Rachel in this movie. In fact, I'd say even better than Katie Holmes in Batman Begins. Like, I love her a lot, actually. The way Nolan directed this film, with the great cinematography by Wally Feister, it's so great. Like, you see this world through the lens of the camera, and it's so well realized and so perfectly well captured. You feel like you could probably see this world happening in front of your very eyes, like you could walk into the movie itself. The action scenes are so well planned out and so riveting, but what makes these action sequences even more riveting is the people in them. Imagine seeing an action scene like this, but it's placed in Justice League. Like, would you really care that much if you saw the Justice League characters in an action scene in this movie? You'd probably be like, well, it's well made, but I don't really care for what they're doing with these characters, and they're not really as well realized. These are action scenes that are only made even better by the characters that you are seeing on screen. So even though I could talk about the great action, what's even more interesting is the characters and the writing. because they elevate the movie to a whole new level, and it makes it one of the best films ever made. Not just comic book movies, one of the best movies ever made. The Dark Knight, of course, gets an A+. It's one of my favorite films of all time. It is honestly one of the best sequels ever, right up there with The Empire Strikes Back. And of course, this is coming off of Batman Begins, which was another phenomenal film, and this of course leads into The Dark Knight Rises, another phenomenal movie. It's just one piece of a huge, entirely amazing trilogy that Nolan crafted perfectly, and I love him for it. It's forever going to be my favorite Nolan movie, and thank you all for letting me talk about it for a little bit on this channel. Thank you, Film Fan, for having me on, and I will pass it right back to you. Man, that was a good outro, right? Yeah, I don't know. Thanks for having me!
Thank you, Mr. Jackson Fulcher, for giving your review of The Dark Knight. Now we're going to move on to my good buddy, 22TigerDude, with his review. So, sir, you take it away.
Alright. It's showtime. Hey there everybody, this is 22TigerDude here, and I want to thank Film Fan 0599 so much for having me collab with him as well as Jackson Fulcher to review The Dark Knight to celebrate its 10th anniversary. And the fact that this is 10 years old is seriously unreal. Now, I do feel like I'm gonna sound like a broken record because we've heard so many people say this, but it's just the way it is because I agree with them. The Dark Knight is a comic book masterpiece. This movie is truly something masterful, and it really did take a completely different spin on the superhero genre. When Christopher Nolan brought Batman Begins, it was his way of reinvigorating the character Batman. It was basically bringing Batman back from the dead because of Batman and Robin. Even though I do think that's a guilty pleasure movie, I'm not gonna lie when I say that. But he brings the sequel. And with this sequel, it's a detective story. It's just really cool that Christopher Nolan took this approach. It definitely doesn't really feel like a superhero movie, like despite the fact that it's a man dressed inside a Batman suit, it's really amazing how much it feels more like a crime mystery movie. And it works. The Dark Knight has some of the most impressive direction I've ever seen, and with Christopher Nolan being such a talented director, it's no surprise for me to really say that. He really did direct the hell out of The Dark Knight. Like seriously, just looking at this movie on a technical level is just so magnificent. The cinematography is gorgeous, whether you want to talk about in the nighttime, definitely the nighttime, and even though you don't get as many scenes in the daytime, when you do see the movie in the daytime, especially during the opening sequence, wow, the cinematography looks impeccable. It is seriously as perfect as it can get when it comes to just lighting and framing and just everything for a movie. Christopher Nolan makes every single shot worth it in The Dark Knight. Visually, of course, it looks absolutely stunning, as Christopher Nolan is more of a fan of going practical than he is all about using the CG. So the practicality that does go on The Dark Knight, man, is it just something to behold. The action sequences are very exciting, and it looks even better than Batman Begins. Even though Batman Begins did have really impressive direction, you could tell Christopher Nolan kind of improved a little bit. And the camera work, honestly, it does look better here with The Dark Knight. You're able to see everything so perfectly. Nothing is shaky, at least in my eyes. Nothing is shaky about this movie with its camera. There's no quick cuts. The editing is top notch. The editing, to me, I have no problem with it. It's perfect in terms of how it edits its action sequences, in terms of how it edits the character interactions, and just as far as pacing, this movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes, and It is paced so well. I can honestly say there's not a single moment where The Dark Knight bores me. Every single moment in The Dark Knight has me truly engrossed. The dialogue when we get to the character interactions are so compelling. Whether you want to talk about when Bruce Wayne and Rachel interact with each other, or when Bruce interacts with Alfred, or when Bruce interacts with Detective Gordon, or especially when we get to Batman interacting with the Joker. Those moments are excellent. No matter what, they're always so compelling. But definitely when we get to scenes when Batman is confronting the Joker, my palms are sweating. You could really feel the tension between the two. You've heard it all at this point, but the interrogation scene, man, is that scene nothing but goosebumps. And really, the entire movie gives me goosebumps. No matter how many times I rewatch this movie, it always gives me the goosebumps. But that interrogation scene, definitely, it just stands as one of the most intense scenes I've seen, because it just makes me sweat every time. Just any scene when Batman and the Joker interacting really are just so great. Every single one of those character moments in The Dark Knight, to me at least, is just so well written. It's so well crafted, and I sometimes wonder how the writers came up with such genius conversations between these characters, because I think the conversations are just as amazing as the action set pieces are. Even though I've rewatched this movie, I still feel like it gives me some kind of new experience when I rewatch it, and that's just the beauty of The Dark Knight, and it's just the beauty of what Christopher Nolan can truly do with his movies. And it should be no surprise when I say that Hans Zimmer's score is breathtaking. Seriously, the Dark Knight scores are seriously just some of the best scores ever, in my opinion. I never get tired of listening to these Dark Knight scores, and obviously in The Dark Knight, it screams epic. This movie in general, I would describe as an epic, and the score just really adds to the epicness. The action's already great and exhilarating as it is, but man, when the score plays behind those exhilarating action sequences, it just adds so much more into the intensity. I feel like everyone truly did play their part so well. Christian Bale, he's amazing as Bruce Wayne / Batman. I love all the scenes with him as Bruce Wayne, and I love all the scenes with him as Batman. He truly does define both Bruce Wayne and Batman, in my opinion. His take on this character has just always been fascinating to me, and he just does such a great job of making you really sympathize with the character, because you want Batman to prove to Gotham City that he is a hero, and despite what the people of Gotham City may think of Batman is still always willing to help the people and make sure the town is safe, even if it means having to make tough decisions. I love how the movie explored Batman in that way. Michael Caine as Alfred is also great as always. He is such a great Alfred. I have always loved Michael Caine as Alfred, and of course here he does such a great job, and he still just has that nice likability to him. Morgan Freeman also really terrific as Lucius Fox. I've always found this character to be very interesting, giving Bruce Wayne the tech that he needs. There is still more of that tech that we see Batman use in the film that I thought was really cool. Aaron Eckhart is great as Harvey Dent / Two-Face. I think he played a very interesting part. Harvey Dent as a character, you can tell, does genuinely care about the people at Gotham City, and you can genuinely tell from this character that he really does want to make Gotham City a better place. And of course eventually where they do take this character once he does become Two-Face, I thought how that played out was very cool. Maggie Gyllenhaal, who does fill in for Katie Holmes from Batman Begins, she plays Rachel now. I really love what she had to bring to the character of Rachel. Now I will be honest, very quick, I know a lot of people didn't really like Katie Holmes from Batman Begins. I actually loved her portrayal in Batman Begins, so I'm not gonna lie, I do kind of miss Katie Holmes in The Dark Knight because I did think she did such a great job as Rachel, and I loved how her character interacted with Bruce in Batman Begins. But still, even with that said, not to bring down Maggie Gyllenhaal because she's still really great as Rachel. She really did do such a great job, and I definitely loved how her and Bruce Wayne interacted with each other. Gary Oldman, of course, is fantastic as Detective Gordon. This is a character that I genuinely just love from the moment we get introduced to him in Batman Begins. Like, in all three of these movies, I've always found Detective Gordon to be such an amazing character, and Gary Oldman continues to do such an excellent job when it comes to playing this character. It's nice to have just someone that actually has faith in Batman, just someone that still has hope when really not many people at Gotham do. So it's just so nice to see this character support Batman and be willing to do anything to help Batman out. And of course, the performance that I also have to talk about and praise really just as much as everyone else is Heath Ledger as the Joker. He is so maniacal as this character. Like, you want to talk about taking a character and really giving it your all, that is Heath Ledger. This guy commands the screen as the Joker. You can tell that Heath Ledger wanted to give the best portrayal possible for this character, and he does. It's one of the best performances for a villain I've ever seen, maybe even the best, just maybe, but if not, it is definitely one of the best because he really gives his all. The Joker is terrifying. Every time the Joker shows up on screen, I am scared. I am shaking. My palms are sweating. That just shows how convincing Heath Ledger is. When he is interacting with Batman especially, it just completely floored me. This whole entire movie floored me. And the smart thing about this movie is that he is not crazy for the sake of being crazy. There is a genuine reason for why the Joker is the way he is. People say the best kind of villains are the villains where even though you don't necessarily agree with what they're doing, you can at least understand where they're coming from. And the Joker, sure, what he's doing you don't necessarily agree with, but when you really hear him out, you can't help but go, well, yeah, I can't really say I don't agree with you on that. You do have a point there, Joker. So they did a very good job of really just fleshing him out as a character and just really getting to his psychological mind. But to be honest, everyone here really shouldn't be overlooked. I feel everyone in this film does deserve credit because of what they had to do for their roles, for what they had to do, what the script told them, and they really delivered it. They absolutely did. And not only is The Dark Knight, in my humble opinion, very well paced, very engrossing, but it does do a very extraordinary job, I should say, of naturally building things up leading up to the climax. Like, it doesn't feel like they really rushed anything. They really took their time. They really used their 2-hour and 30-minute run time to its full advantage. So everything felt like it was fleshed out. And by the time you do get to the climax of the film, it feels very rewarding because of how much time they took leading up to the climax. And the ending, every time I watch it, them chills, man. It gives me them serious chills. It's definitely one of the best endings I've ever seen. Just the speech that's given in that ending, just how everything was executed, where things are set up for Batman, which does lead up, to The Dark Knight Rises, really is so powerful. Now, even though I do think this is a masterpiece, if I have to really name one nitpick with The Dark Knight, you know, there's that scene when Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face. All I'll say is, whenever we do get to that scene, I do feel like that's maybe the only time where I did feel like the execution could have been just maybe a little bit better. Just a little bit. And it is such a quick scene as well, so it's not like it's enough for me to like lower the rating or anything like that. But you know, every time I do watch that scene, I do feel like the execution of when Harvey Dent goes from being Harvey Dent to Two-Face, the execution of it, I do think could have been just a little bit better. In terms of like saying something marginally wrong with The Dark Knight, and I do mean very, very marginally, that's really about it. Overall, The Dark Knight, as you've heard from so many people, it is one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. I've seen this movie countless times and I never get tired of watching it. I love this movie so much. It's one of the best directed films I've ever seen. It is intelligently well written. The fact that Christopher Nolan got to take this character and turn it into this crime, drama, mystery film really worked. The character interactions were so compelling. The action sequences are exhilarating. It seriously has some of the best action I've ever seen put on screen. I really cannot compliment the action enough in The Dark Knight. The score by Hans Zimmer, as expected, is truly phenomenal. One of the best scores ever. Everyone gives great performances. Everyone really takes their material and they truly do make it stand out as much as they can. And I think it absolutely pays off to the fullest. It is a cinematic achievement in my opinion. It truly is something I've never seen in a comic book movie before, you know, for its time. It truly is unlike anything I've seen in the genre. It truly is a spectacle to behold. I love it so much. At this point, you all know what I'm going to give this film. I'm going to give The Dark Knight 4 out of 4 stars. And on the Film Fan 0599 and Jackson Fulcher scale, it would be an A+. Yeah, just I adore this movie so much, and the fact that it's 10 years old, wow. It makes me speechless, to be honest. But that is my review for The Dark Knight. Thank you so much to Film Fan for bringing me here. And of course, I will cut back to Film Fan now.
Thank you, Mr. 22TigerDude, for your review of The Dark Knight. Now, we are on to my review. So, what did I think of The Dark Knight? Well, I'm going to admit firsthand, I did not see this movie when it first came out in 2008. There's a couple reasons to it, because at around the time, like 2008 to 2009, when the hype was like really at its all-time high for this movie, I was starting to fade out of movies and going more into wrestling at this point. And another reason is because I was never really the biggest Batman fan as a kid. Like, I always thought he was a cool character, but he was never someone would rush out to see his movies or something like that. Like, I didn't even see Batman Begins beforehand. I think I saw, like, one scene from it just one time, and that was it. Like, I didn't see anything else from the movie because I just didn't really have much interest in it, because I wasn't really that interested at Batman at that point in my life. So, when in 2013, when I was getting back into movies again, I wanted to watch movies that many people were praising. And the Dark Knight trilogy, not just that one movie, but the whole trilogy in general, was something that a lot of people praised. So I was like, you know what? I need to finally sit down and watch these movies. And I did. One day, I sat down and watched all three of them in one binge sitting. And it's still the greatest binging I have ever done in my entire life. It was truly fantastic. And The Dark Knight, I saw it for the first time, and I was absolutely blown away. This is in like my top 10 favorite movies of all time. This movie is like pure perfection, in my opinion. One of the many movies that I would consider pure perfection, to be honest. Like, it is just absolutely marvelous. this movie. This movie is absolutely incredible. Like, what else new can I say about this movie that hasn't been said multiple times before? Because I really can't say anything new about this movie that hasn't been said already. You know, it's so amazing. It really is. There's a reason why many people consider it the greatest comic book movie of all time, because it honestly, truly is. It is a masterwork of a film. So, let's get into my positives. And my positives are, first being the acting. The acting is absolutely, truly incredible in this movie. Everyone does a fantastic job in this film. Christian Bale is great as Bruce Wayne / Batman. I think he is the best Bruce Wayne / Batman we've ever had on the screen, to be honest. He is great. He really is. He fully embraces both characters very nicely, in my opinion. And I do think this is the best performance of his character in all three of the movies, to be honest. I just love where his character goes and the directions that he takes in the film. Not only, you know, Christian Bale with his acting, but just the character of Bruce Wayne / Batman in general. I love the directions that they take with him in this film, especially towards the end. Yeah, I won't spoil it just in case. I'm pretty sure everybody's seen this movie, but you never know. But, you know, it just, the way that they develop his character and further his character even more is absolutely fantastic, in my opinion. Christian Bale just does an absolutely phenomenal job, in my opinion. I love his performance in this film. Aaron Eckhart is great, in my opinion. Definitely very underrated in this movie. Like, I feel like not enough people talk about his performance. He is great as Harvey Dent / Two-Face. He's the perfect guy for this role. And he does an absolutely amazing job as the character. Like, and where his character's direction goes, it's so incredible, and it's so just amazing, really. Like, I love, like, just the way that some characters are taken into this movie is absolutely incredible, and I love it. And the direction that they go with his character in this movie is actually really fantastic, in my opinion. And I really loved what they did with him in this movie. Like, this is easily, without question, the best portrayal we've had of Two-Face on the big screen. Honestly, he is absolutely phenomenal in the film, and I thought Aaron Eckhart gave a really great performance and is very often overlooked for this film. Gary Oldman is great once again as Commissioner Gordon. I loved him in the film. He does an absolutely fantastic job in the movie. Maggie Gyllenhaal is actually really good too as Rachel. I thought she was actually very good in the film. I thought she was much better than Katie Holmes, who I didn't think was awful, but definitely could have been way better. But, you know, in The Dark Knight, I feel like they kind of a little bit improved on her character, and, you know, and they got a much better actress, in my opinion, to play the role, and she was really good in the movie. I thought Maggie Gyllenhaal was very good in The Dark Knight. Morgan Freeman is great too. I really enjoyed him in the film. Same goes with Michael Caine as Alfred. I loved him in the movie as well. And of course, like Heath Ledger as the Joker. Like, what else? Just honestly, like, what else can you say about his performance that hasn't been said at least billions and billions of times? Honestly, like, it's been 10 years since this movie has come out, and this performance is still talked about to this day because it feels so surreal. Like, it's like a character is literally coming to life from the pages of a comic book. Like, it's so surreal, and it's so like, how did he do it, man? Like, how did he do it? And he just brings his character to life. He really does. Like, Heath Ledger is so incredible. Like, honest to God, I think this might be the best performance of the 21st century. Like, it is just so amazing, in my opinion, and just, it's so, just, you feel the chaos and just the absolute insaneness of the Joker with Heath Ledger's portrayal. And I'm going to be honest, like, you really don't feel that with any other portrayal of the Joker. Jack Nicholson is very good. Mark Hamill is the closest, I think. But Heath Ledger's Joker really is the one that really brings this character to life. And man, was he amazing in this movie. He absolutely 100% deserved the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for this. He was absolutely amazing in this movie, and just the way that he would play off of Christian Bale was great. Like, he felt like a true villain. And, you know, that's what you gotta do. You gotta make your villain as great as your hero. Because why are we gonna care about this if your villain is bland and forgettable? You know, why are we gonna care about Batman trying to go after him? And they do an amazing job with that in this movie. And the Joker is easily one of the greatest villains we have had put to the big screen, honestly. Like, the character's absolutely great, and the way that they handle him in this movie is absolutely fantastic. And Heath Ledger's portrayal of the character is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. I was truly blown away when I first saw it. I was just like, wow. Like, I could not believe someone can just, like, act that well, you know what I mean? Like, it was a performance that took my breath away. And it still does to this day, to be honest. No matter how many times I rewatch the movie, it's still a performance that takes my breath away, to be honest. It's just a truly timeless performance, in my opinion, and is easily one of the greatest performances of all time, honestly. It's absolutely phenomenal. The action sequences are really great, too. And a good point that Jackson Fulcher brought up in his review earlier is that, like, if you don't, like, the action sequences can be cool and stuff like that, but the characters really elevate these action sequences much, much better. Like, the characters, because you care about them so much and like being invested in them, you care about the action sequences a lot more, and that is very true. And he brought up a really great point in that, because the freeway scene, that freeway scene is like one of the best action sequences ever, and just what happened, but you're just so invested in it because all the characters in that scene are great, and just what's happening during it is really fantastic, and I love it. It's awesome. Like, the action sequences are so well filmed and so well executed, in my opinion. It's really great to watch. Definitely some of the best action I've seen put to film, and just some of the best I've seen in a comic book movie, to be honest. Like, it is really great, the action sequences in this film. But I feel like the action sequences are not the main focus of this film. The main focus is definitely characters. That is definitely the main focus of this film. I look at this as a very great character study, as well as not only just a comic book movie or a drama or an action film. I look at this as also a great character study, because the way that they develop these characters and really focus on them is really great. Like the directions that they take Bruce Wayne in, or the directions that they take the Joker in, or Harvey Dent. Like, just the way that they take some characters and really focus on them, and seeing how much they just could either go like into a downward spiral or just go insane is absolutely amazing. I really like how they did that in this film. And like, even with Bruce Wayne, like, how far can he push his limits in this film? Can he keep his word of not killing because of some certain things that happened in this movie? And you're so invested in it because it's so great. Like, it really is. How they develop these characters is some of the best character development I have ever seen in a movie. Like, just seeing how invested and how much we get of development of these characters, and seeing where they go from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie is absolutely incredible. I give major props to the writers and Christopher Nolan for doing that. Like, just really trying to focus on characters, not just make kind of just a comic book movie. They want to make a movie. You know what I mean? And they did a really fantastic job with that, in my opinion. I absolutely love that about this movie. And that's another thing I have to give the major credit to this movie for, too. This movie does not feel like any other comic book movie. It really doesn't. Like, this movie does stick out in a good way as being far away from a comic book movie as possible. The only thing is that it's Batman and the Joker. That's the only thing. Like, this movie, along with the others in the Dark Knight trilogy, is so grounded in reality, and that's what I love. It's like, what if Batman was an actual thing? This is what it would be like, and it's absolutely amazing. I love that. I love this sense of surrealness in this, and just, it's amazing. And just being so sucked into this world of Gotham, it's absolutely incredible. I like that it doesn't feel like a comic book, honestly. I like that it kind of feels like it's real life, like this could actually happen. You never know. Like, I love that. I love how grounded in reality these movies are. Not just this movie, but the whole trilogy in general. And it's just so amazing. I love that. I love how grounded in reality this film is. And they do an absolutely fantastic fantastic job of that with either building atmosphere or, just with the characters. It's so amazing. I love how grounded in reality this film is, and they do such an incredible job of that in this film. The writing is absolutely incredible with this film. One of my favorite screenplays of all time. Honestly, I love the screenplay to this. Some amazing, amazing writing in my opinion. I love the writing with this film. It is absolutely fantastic in my opinion. Like I said, one of my favorite screenplays of all time. In this movie just has so many great scenes. The interrogation scene, just like, what scene could I start with? Because there's so many, honestly, and just, it's so fantastic. It really is. It really is. I love the writing with this film. So amazing. The directing is absolutely phenomenal with this film. This is one of my all-time favorite directed films just ever. The way that this movie is shot, the way that it's just, it is so beautiful. Christopher Nolan really, truly brings this movie to life. He really does. His directing is absolutely phenomenal with this film. It's very well shot, very well edited. The cinematography is absolutely beautiful with this film. I love how the way that this movie is directed. Honestly, it is so incredible. And I believe they broke 3 IMAX cameras while making this movie, actually. I think. It could have been more than 3, but I believe it was 3 IMAX cameras they broke during the filming of this movie. And it's great. I really love the directing with this movie. It's so well directed in my opinion. I actually really love how they did the directing in this film, and Christopher Nolan really brings of what his vision of what he wanted for Batman to life in this movie, and I absolutely love that with this film. And his directing is absolutely phenomenal in my opinion, and just really fantastic. The pacing is amazing too. There's never a time I feel bored during this movie. Never. There's never a time I feel bored. It is 2 hours and 32 minutes, and I'm never bored. I'm always invested. I'm always wondering where this movie is going to go next. I am so enthralled and so just on the edge of my seat with this movie and wondering where it's going to go next. Where is this movie heading into next? And I love that because I always want a movie to have my full attention 100%. There's never should be a time where I feel bored or feel oh, this is dragging out, or feeling like it's rushing. This movie grabs your attention for the entire thing. And I love that. And there's never a time I feel it either just slowing down or rushing. I feel like it's taking its time perfectly and moves at a nice, natural pace. I never feel bored once. Not once during this movie. The Dark Knight is one of the greatest movies ever made. It's just, it's such a cliche at this point. But can you blame people for saying it? Can you really blame them? This movie is truly something amazing. I feel like we haven't gotten a movie like this in a long time. And I think we never will ever again. Because this was such a truly special film. It really was. It is truly something amazing. There's a reason why people still talk about it so much 10 years later. Because, in my opinion, Spider-Man 2, The Crow, and The Dark Knight are the absolute holy trinities of superhero films. I absolutely love this movie to death. This is one of those movies that just impacted me so much and really made me love films again. And I truly have a special place in my heart for this movie because I love this film so much. Like I say, it's in my top 10 favorite films of all time. I love it so much. It is such a phenomenal, not just comic book movie, but just a phenomenal movie in general. And I absolutely love it. I can't really say any more about this film that I haven't said already, or that many other people haven't said about the film already. So, A+. It's, what else? Come on, A+. I know it's a cliche to say that this movie's a masterpiece, but come on now. This movie is, it's just truly timeless. It really is. It's a truly timeless film in my opinion. And I love it so much. Like, I truly love this movie to death. One of the greatest movies of all time. So yeah, there you go. That's the review for The Dark Knight. This was great. Getting to talk about this movie on its 10th anniversary is pretty amazing. And thank you once again to my good buddies, 22TigerDude and Jackson Fulcher, for joining me for this 10th anniversary review of The Dark Knight. Thank you, Christopher Nolan. Thank you, Christian Bale. Thank you, Heath Ledger. Thank you, everybody that worked on this movie. This truly timeless movie, in my opinion. What a masterpiece. What a film. I absolutely love this movie to death. I can't say any more about it. Just happy 10th anniversary. Thank you all for watching. I'm FilmFan0599, and we will see you all later. Peace.